Okay, hey everyone, my name is Simran, and today we're going to be doing a presentation on Fools by Troye Sivan. This is part of a three-part series called Blue Neighborhood, and this is the second part of the series.
Hi, my name is Amy, and I'm first just going to give some background information on who Troye Sivan is. So Troye Sivan is an Australian singer-songwriter who first gained popularity on YouTube in the 2010s, first uploading covers of songs and then later collaborating with other popular YouTubers. On August 7th, 2013, he came out as gay and was met with a lot of love and support from fans and fellow YouTubers. This popularity really helped launch his music career, and his EP, TRXYE, and his first album, Blue Neighborhood, had a really big influence on the queer community and internet culture between the years 2014 to 2016. Now, these are the covers of the EPs and albums Troye has done, and all of these share his experience growing up and living as a gay man, along with the themes of love, sex, sexuality, and heartbreak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie. The thesis for our presentation today is Fools by Troye Sivan portrays how conforming to heteronormativity causes queer people to compromise their self-expression in order to receive paternal validation and guidance through the storytelling of a fear-induced experience many LGBTQIA+ people can relate to.
Now, what we're first going to discuss is how rage and validation are very key roles in the storytelling of this music video. Now, as mentioned before, this is part 2 of the Blue Neighborhood trilogy, and for some extra context, in the first part, we see that the two boys shown here grew up together and both bore witness to toxic forms of masculinity from their male role models. Because of this, they learned from an early age that they had to hide their feelings for one another from the outside world, especially their fathers. In this video, we see that the boy's father specifically works on a boating dock, he heavily drinks, and is very hostile towards his son, constantly asserting his dominance over him. Since being gay doesn't live up to the expectations of masculinity set by the boy's father, the two keep their relationship a secret. And once the boy's father realizes he might be gay, he punishes him. He punches him, yells at him, and humiliates him in the same space he once felt safe with Troye in. This beating plants more shame and hatred within himself, leading him to act out and change the way he acts in front of everyone around him. He also begins to regress further into those negative feelings that have been instilled in him since childhood by his father and other masculine figures in his life. Now, one way we see this boy change and begin to perform masculinity is when, in this clip here, Troye attempts to go talk to the boy and is only met with aggression and anger, similar to the manner in which his father showed him before. After enduring the trauma of his father hurting him, the boy must protect himself and put matters into his own hands by putting on a facade. He must prove to his father that he is not gay by any means necessary, including pushing someone away who deeply cares about him and loves him unconditionally. The boy takes control of the situation, asserting his dominance over Troye and projecting his feelings of rage and guilt onto him. He pushes him away and yells at him to leave, not bothering to listen to what he has to say. The results in his father hugging him and looking at him very proudly. He finally got the validation he craved, but it was to his own expense. Now, another example of the boy projecting a pseudo-self and performing masculinity is at the end of the video. Troye walks by the boy and his new girlfriend, watching them interlock hands and walk off happily together, in a way confirming that the boy has moved on from being gay. The boy must continuously prove to his father, himself, Troye, and everyone else around him that he isn't gay, so that he doesn't experience any more aggression or beatings from his father. However, as he continues to indulge himself in a heteronormative culture, his true self gets lost, and the internal self-hatred and rage will build until no form of validation will suffice or sustain him. This is an experience many young LGBTQ+ people face, having to act out of self-preservation in order to survive because being out and proud is too dangerous of an option for them.
Alrighty, and so I wanted to focus on what exactly validation is and why it's important growing up. So validation is the act of acknowledging another person's thoughts and feelings and communicating to them that those thoughts and feelings make sense and are understandable given the situation. It is important to note that validating, however, is not the same as agreeing. So when parents take the time to validate their children, their kids often feel more open to having a conversation and are more responsive. If we receive inadequate amounts of authentic validation growing up, then shameful comments that we receive from peers or whoever it may be have more impact on us because we have not generated a strong sense of self. So in the still frame in the upper right-hand corner, it is part of a clip where Troy's boyfriend is about to get punished. I wanted to focus on this in particular because it displays the fear he's experiencing. And I had a similar experience in terms of that fear that forms internally when the topic of LGBTQ issues arise. I live in a stereotypical South Asian household where my parents, but more specifically my dad, is not accepting of LGBTQ individuals. When I was applying for college applications or when I was applying for college, my dad saw my sexuality in the demographics section. I was trying my best to avoid it by scrolling away. He told me it was wrong, and the safest thing for me to do then was just to agree. I acted completely dumbfounded and said, I don't really know why I put that there, and he seemed to fall for it, so that worked in my favor, luckily. But the fear that I felt was very similar to what Troy's boyfriend is feeling here. And so this all can also be related to Paris's burning in Pose. In Pose, we saw that in the beginning of the clips of the film that one of the characters was kicked out of his home for being gay. This inevitably led him to seek out something that would fill what was not fulfilled at first at home. Therefore, the lack of validation forced him to find this chosen family that he ended up finding. This can not only lead to an individual that is full of rage toward their parental figures, but also self-hatred. We convince ourselves that we are flawed based on the perceptions of external figures, and this impacts the way we perceive ourselves. This later on too affects the way that we form healthy relationships with others. This is similar, but not the same of what is being represented with Down's work and what is being seen in Troye Sivan's video, because Down is a white gay male, as is Troye Sivan and his boyfriend. The hardship they face is almost equivalent, but the obstacles and intensity of the situations that accompany are not faced on the same level.
We can relate a lot of this to Michael Warner's text, The Trouble with Normal. The chapter of ethics of sexual shame resonates a lot with what we are talking about with fitting into the sexual norm, quote unquote, Troye father urges. Reading the quote of Warner is that we live with sexual norms that survive from the Stone Age. This is a problem with any essentially conservative or traditionalist stance on sexual morality. What we have to conserve is barbaric. Relating this back to the music video, one of the problems is that Troy's dad displays anger and humiliation towards Troy's just being gay. His dad is living in the past and doesn't want to be open-minded. He wishes to see his son fit into the sexual norm. This shame that Troye builds from his dad in sexuality conflicts with his relationship with himself as a person, resulting in losing himself and having that void that is truly hard to fill. Going back to the clip, we saw Troye and his dad arguing and then transitions to Troye laying down, making out with his boyfriend. I thought this quote by Warner adds context to this scene. It states, "Stigma is messy and often incoherent. The received wisdom in straight culture is that all of its different norms line up, that one is synonymous with the others. If you are born with male genitalia, the logic goes you will have to behave in masculine ways, desire women, desire them feminine women, desire them exclusively, have sex in what are thought to be normally active and assertive ways and within officially sanctioned context." This speaks a lot about the LGBTQIA plus community because often the situation happens and being gay in a normal, conservative, closed-minded family is not validated by your parental figure. In this case, we see that with Troye and his dad. Relating this back to the thesis, Troy's dad expected his son to fit in and like girls and be like his dad and nothing else. And clearly, if he doesn't fit into this social standard, he is clearly not accepted in that family household. Obviously, there is a sexual barrier that the LGBTQIA plus community go through when coming out to your family and craving that validation within your family. Warner quotes to the lesbian and gay movement, each has had to resist not just violence, but the more normal kinds of sexual unfreedom, moralism, law, stigma, shame, and isolation. Warner also states that the lesbian and gay movement at its best has always been rooted in a queer ethnic of dignity and shame. It is extremely difficult to overcome shame when someone important in your life, like your parental figures, don't cooperate with understanding you and having that open mindfulness and comprehending you. This story that Troye portrays resembles an experience many LGBTQIA plus community people resonate with. And that is our presentation for today. Thank you so much for tuning in.